Hi everybody. So my instructional strategy was strategy number 46, which is the tea party. So I already made this slideshow before we kind of changed the assignment rules, but I'm going to show you what I put just so you can kind of see how you can implement this strategy um, inside of your classroom, just in case something like this ever happens again and you can do it online. Um, I guess to start for the actual tea party, um, there are four like really essential steps you need to do. The first one is to choose your book that you want to do, choose excerpts from that book, and make cards. Since this was online, I just retyped them on a slide and assigned them to a student. But you can give these randomly to your students. Um, they don't have to be like specifically assigned to a student. So that would be step one. Step two is to obviously hand the cards out, give one to each student, and they need to take a couple minutes and just practice their reading. Um, just so they get familiar with their excerpt, they can do it in their head, they can do it out loud, whatever they kind of want to do. But definitely give them a couple minutes to get familiar with that excerpt. Step three would be to share your excerpts with your classmates. So basically, students would walk around the classroom, they would find a partner. One person would read their excerpt, another person will read their excerpt, and then each of them will discuss the text that they had just read and make comments about each of the excerpts. And then lastly, you can share them with your class so you can get back together in classroom discussion. You can have students volunteer to talk about their excerpt and what they learned from it, the main ideas they got from it, vocabulary they found, etc., etc. So for these tea party instructions, since they were online, um, I just took out an excerpt from Mercy Suarez Changes Gears and gave them to each member in our group, which we're obviously not doing now. But for an online platform, I just said, take a minute or two, silently read your own excerpt. You can do it more than one time to get yourself better acquainted with your text. Um, if we were doing this in person, I would have you pair up with a partner and make comments. But due to the fact that we were online, my plan was to ask each of you to read your passage aloud via Zoom since we were a smaller group and we would each just comment, make a few comments. Yeah, and then I added just general etiquette. Um, I think it's a good idea to kind of give your students an explanation of what you expect from them and what they should be expecting from their classmates. So I asked them to read silently out loud just because we were supposed to be in an online platform and I didn't want it to be on the computer. Try not to interrupt when someone is commenting on the text, but feel free to add to their point when they are done speaking and listen silently when other students are reading aloud. I think those are really important details to add, just so the students know just the proper etiquette of like, don't interrupt, but feel free to add to the discussion. So you'll see in this, I found a couple excerpts and just was going to have each of you guys read one and then we would comment about it, but obviously that's not what ended up happening. So yeah, um, but there are lots of ways to incorporate this in your classroom and a lot of reasons why you should incorporate it in your classroom. This is great for comprehension. This is a good pre-reading activity, but it is also a good post-reading activity. So for a pre-reading activity, you could kind of read them things that might, or give them excerpts that might draw them into the story and get them excited to read it, and that would be really cool. But also as a post-reading activity, you can do this so that you make sure students grasp the main ideas, what you wanted them to know and what you wanted them to gain throughout the story. Another great way to use this is to introduce vocabulary and teach students vocabulary words that they don't know. So yeah, I think this would have been really cool. I kind of wish we could have done it just to be back in a classroom setting and do classroom stuff. But yeah, that's my strategy. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I can figure out how to stop this. And have a good rest of your quarantine, guys.